Saskatchewan. I mean, Hogan is an international superstar, regardless of how you want to criticize him, how you want to phrase the term Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is a legend, and I do have all the respect in the world for Hulk Hogan. In 2002 especially, I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan when he did everything from pass the torch to The Rock at WrestleMania 18 to become the undisputed champion just a couple of months after defeating Triple H when Triple H was on top of the business. Just when the brand extension was implemented for the first few months, Hogan carried the company. It might have only been for a month, but I was the biggest Hulk Hogan fan right up until he lost the title to The Undertaker at Judgment Day in '02, a video you can see in our torrent board on our website of Hogan vs. The Undertaker, a match that was almost 12 or 13 years in the making. That was the first meeting of The Undertaker and Hogan since 1991. I was a big Hogan mark in '02. And I loved seeing that match between Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan, derived from Mr. McMahon believing he was the one who created Hulkamania. I find that hard to believe because Hogan testified against Vince McMahon in the trial of his life against the federal government for using steroids to enhance the performance of his athletes in the WWE. I believe Hogan was the one who created Hulkamania. Definitely Vince McMahon financed Hulkamania, gave Hulk Hogan the money to back his gimmick and everything, but I think when it all came down to it, Terry Bollea portraying Hulk Hogan the way he did, and all the ideas he put and bestowed in the mind of Vince McMahon can be credited to why Hulk Hogan was such a huge success. If it hadn't been for Terry Bollea's perseverance and passion for the wrestling industry, Hulk Hogan probably would have never amounted to anything, which is why I give Hulk Hogan all the credit in the world. Jimmy Hart, for making the music that Hulk Hogan used to come out to the ring to. I mean, so many different things can be credited to Hulk Hogan's success, not just Mr. McMahon alone, but I remember all this stuff that happened in the early 2000s for Hulk Hogan. There has never been a DVD or Blu-ray documentation about the greatest wrestling stars of the 80s or 90s without including Hulk Hogan's name, because he was such a central name in the wrestling industry. I mean, you have to give Hulk Hogan credit where credit is due, and Hulk Hogan deserves a lot of credit. I mean, yeah, we go on PerezHilton.com, TMZ.com, and read celebrity headlines generated from the Hogan family because of divorces happening, because of personal issues. But you take all that away from Hulk Hogan, and you can never take away the contributions that Hogan made to the wrestling industry, no matter what organization he worked for. No matter if it was with the WWE and leaving them in '95 to go to WCW to be a part of the Monday Night War, and almost putting WWE underground after 89 consecutive weeks, 87, 88, and 89, whatever consecutive weeks on top for WCW, and Hulk Hogan was probably the main reason why WCW amounted to what it did, the success it amounted to for those 87 weeks on top. Eric Bischoff, the mind of it all, and Hulk Hogan being the poster child of it all. He was definitely a reason behind all that. So, I mean, everything Hogan did definitely amounted to greatness. And, I mean, arguably, he is one of the greatest wrestling stars, if not the 1980s, if not the 1990s, and if not the early 2000s. Of all time. Definitely Hogan is the wrestler. If you have to definitely describe the term wrestler and put it into words, two words I think can sum up the term wrestler, and it's Hulk Hogan. And I'm not just preaching about Hulk Hogan because I'm a diehard Hulk Hogan fan. It's because I know what Hulk Hogan did, I know what Hulk Hogan accomplished, and definitely Hulk Hogan accomplished a lot. He accomplished more than the Macho Man Randy Savages of the world, more than the Sid Justices of the world, more than the Shawn Michaels of the world. As great of a performer as Shawn Michaels was, never being outperformed in a big match situation, Hulk Hogan outperformed all of these wrestlers, and the term wrestler can be summed up in just two words: Hulk Hogan / Terry Bollea, because of everything that he did. And alongside all that, he also promoted his daughter's singing career, who had a couple of music videos and a couple of albums dropped because of using the Hogan name. That's another thing about the Hogan family. They attached Hulk Hogan's in-ring name to their name to allow their avenues in life to achieve just as much success as Hulk Hogan did in his avenue in professional wrestling. Brooke Hogan, Nick Hogan, they all go by the Hogan Alice because of the success that comes along with the name. And rightfully so. I mean, people will criticize Hulk Hogan for what he did for years, how he testified against Vince McMahon in the trial of his life, but He did it all for a reason, bottom line, and he proved a lot of people wrong when people told him he could never be a professional wrestler. He was even in the Rocky movies, for Christ's sake, and had a good relationship with Mr. T, teaming with him at WrestleMania 1 to take on Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper in the first ever WrestleMania main event. Hogan, again, going back to my initial point, everything Hogan did seemed to be a career-defining moment for Hulk Hogan, and if not a career-defining moment, a turning point, not only in the career of Hulk Hogan, but in professional wrestling in general, feuding with everyone from Ric Flair to Randy Orton. I mean, if there ever is a 4-disc set released on Blu-ray or DVD of Hogan's career, no DVD or Blu-ray release can document and put into words what Hulk Hogan has done. No autobiography will be able to describe Hulk Hogan's career in 25, 30 chapters. Definitely, Hogan will be remembered for his contributions long after he's dead and gone as one of the greatest of all time. If there ever was a name deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, Hulk Hogan's name is deserving of being one of the 100 that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Less than 100 people have gone in there. Hogan is very deserving of being one of those few people that have been inducted because of all of his contributions. Nobody could ever match or live up to the expectation or what Hulk Hogan had amounted to. Even Shawn Michaels, who was never outperformed in a big match situation, or The Undertaker, who's gone 20 years at WrestleMania being undefeated, defeating everyone from Ric Flair to Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Nobody could ever match Hulk Hogan's accomplishments in the wrestling industry. Long before The Undertaker started his win streak at WrestleMania, back at WrestleMania 7, Hogan had started a win streak at SummerSlam, and to this day, Hogan is known as the guy who never lost at SummerSlam and held more championships than probably anybody in the wrestling industry. I mean, he's done everything, from being world champion to teaming with people who idolized him when they were a kid. I mean, Edge loves the fact that he had the opportunity to hold the tag team titles with Hulk Hogan, a guy who we watched the Ultimate Warrior defeat at WrestleMania 6. So, I mean, Hulk Hogan has been there for it all. He's met his idols, he's worked with his idols, he's worked with some of the new talented stars, and this is just another opportunity for Hulk Hogan that I think and believe he's going to make the most out of. On a 5-star scale, Hogan's career deserves to be rated a 6 because he's done everything. People will make fun of him like the piece of shit Perez Hilton is. He will make fun of him with his paramarks on PerezHilton.com. TMZ.com will jump all over things like the Nick Hogan car crash or something going on with Brooke Hogan's life or Linda Hogan, trying to take Hogan for everything that he's worth. But when it all comes down to it, Hulk Hogan is the man. I'm Jonathan Clarke, and I definitely approve of everything Hulk Hogan is doing and has done, and now with this general manager thing befalling him in TNA, it's just another opportunity for Hulk Hogan to make the most of and demonstrate his love and his passion for the business, which I believe is a never-dying passion that has been exemplified through the years. Over 25 years of Hulk Hogan, it is not over yet. Hulkamania is still running wild, yes. When Hogan gets in a bit of financial trouble, Hulkamania, for some unexplainable reason, starts running wild again. But during the few months that Hulkamania starts running wild again, before it dies down, fans love it. They relish in the fact that Hogan is back. They worship the ground Hogan walks on, and if there ever is a ground that a wrestler walks on, it is the ground of Hulk Hogan by millions of Hulkamaniacs. He has more wrestling fans than probably The Rock had, and that says a lot. I mean, Hogan versus The Rock was a great feud, but in that feud, more people favored Hulk Hogan than they did The Rock, and that's the truth. As big as the star The Rock was, he could never live up to the popularity of what Hulk Hogan did. And regardless of who you are, wrestling fan or not, you all know one name that stands out amongst all the wrestlers who have been involved in the wrestling industry over the last 3 or 4 decades. And that one name is Hulk Hogan, known as a professional wrestler, known as a movie star, a reality star, a rent-a-center commercial promotional icon. And now, Hulk Hogan is simply known as TNA General Manager. For how long, we don't know, but I think TNA is going to prosper after signing Hulkamania to a long-term contract and a role of power in TNA Wrestling, something we have never seen Hulk Hogan do, but something I believe not only TNA Wrestling and Hulk Hogan are going to benefit from, but each and every one of you who, believe it or not, are all Hulkamaniacs in some type of fashion, regardless if you admit to being one or not. We all love our legends. We all love the Ultimate Warriors of the world. We all love the Macho Man Randy Savages of the world. We all love the Stings. And with all those loves, we have to include the love we have had for Hulk Hogan. Regardless if we show it or we hide it, We are all Hulkamaniacs in some type of fashion, so the only question left to say is, or ask, what are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? He is running wild on TNA Wrestling, having the time of his life. As TNA General Manager, having the opportunity to work with some of the people he worked with for years, like Sting and RVD, and many other stars who have never had the opportunity to work with Hulk Hogan. I mean, Abyss was the biggest Hulkamania mark for the last number of years before turning on Hulk Hogan. But I think that everybody is a Hulkamaniac in some type of fashion. I am. And I believe you listening to the show on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, wherever you hear my voice, are a Hulkamaniac. And you've loved Hulk Hogan probably just as much as I have, or even more. Hogan does have his diehard fans out there who will love Hulk Hogan up until the time he dies. Then there are those critics who don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. But we invite you to tell us what you think of Hulk Hogan being the general manager of TNA Wrestling by sending us your opinion on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I'd love to see your opinions, and I'd love to see your videos and photos of Hulk Hogan. Anything you would like to contribute to hwwrestling@hotmail.com as we celebrate and respect the fact that Hogan is still in the wrestling business in some type of fashion, and rightfully so. If it hasn't been Hulk Hogan who has changed the wrestling industry, I ask you the question, if not him, who has changed the wrestling industry, and who has changed for the better? Yes, Ric Flair dominated the 80s. And yes, Ric Flair has a never-ending passion for the industry. But did he change it as much as Hulk Hogan did? Did Sting change it as much as Hulk Hogan did? I believe the answer to that question is no. There are wrestlers who have never been outperformed in big match situations, and Hogan is one of them. There's a reason why he defeated Shawn Michaels in 2005. It's because Hulk Hogan was the far more superior performer because of everything he did. I'm Jonathan Clarke. I am a Hulkamaniac, asking our question of the week, I guess, or the question of the show. What are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Do you think Hulkamania will benefit TNA Wrestling? Do you think more positivity will arise from this general manager role for Hogan than it will negativity? Tell us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Read the column, Hulk Hogan as TNA General Manager. I'm Jonathan Clarke. Follow me on Twitter at HEW Entertainment, Jonathan Clarke 1. Join the conversation that is happening on my Facebook page at facebook.com/HEW Entertainment. And subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com, Jonathan Clarke 22. Please do. What are you going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Are you going to help TNA Wrestling with the ratings by watching Hogan is the general manager of TNA? The graphic for our YouTube version of the show says TNA Wrestling, Hulk Hogan has arrived in TNA.